Alrighty, so what I'm going to show everyone today is how to fix a common problem with plotting average data when you include error bars. The most common problem is you rely on Microsoft Excel to populate the error bars across all of a sample of different tests, right? So if you're comparing 5 different runs of the same game to see how consistent the game runs, you're going to have different error bars because each test is independent. And so what I have here is data from 5 runs of Furmark using the same hardware, just run sequentially. There's 300 data points here because we ran the test for 5 minutes each time. And manually, I aggregated my data to show our descriptive statistics up here. Okay, so the first line is the mean, which means this is our average FPS for each run. Notice they're slightly different, but we want to know how different are they? Are they statistically different? Okay, next line is the standard deviation, gives us an idea of how spread out the scores are. And then this is our standard error. So this is our standard error of the mean, meaning that how much noise is in our data around that average FPS. Okay, so that's our average FPS. Here is a standardized measurement of noise or error. Why wasn't this value exactly 71.68 for every single second of the run? Okay, I also grabbed some other useful information down here, or calculated some useful information. 99% confidence interval, which introduces probability to the standard error to say, hey, about where is our FPS based on a normal distribution, min and max, a 1% low, and a 0.1% low to get at issues of drop frames or stuttering. Okay, so knowing that, what we're going to do here is we're going to graph our average FPS. Okay, so we have it graphed here. I'll make it a little bit bigger so everyone can see. Okay, here's our runs. Just make this aesthetically a little bit more pleasing. Okay, and the scale down here, I'm going to adjust this scale from 70 to 75 is okay, right? So what I'll do is I'm just going to change the colors here so I can visually show you the differences between the common approach that's the wrong way and the right approach that I'm going to show you how to fix. And I'm using different colors to just visually demonstrate that these were run separately. So separately as in I ran the first test, I stopped it, I ran the second test, I stopped it. So I ran them sequentially, but they were independent runs. And that's important to understand because most people graph error the wrong way, meaning that they have one error statistic for all of their independent tests, whether they're testing on different systems or they're testing different hardware. But these are time independent, meaning that they weren't all run at the exact same time. But there's other ways to establish independence. All of them make sure that each bar, each average FPS should have its own unique error bar. Okay, so the way we're going to do that is if we go into here, and then we're going to go into design up top, add chart element, and if you scroll down, even though you can't see this, you'll see error bars about the 6th list, drop down list down, and then you click on standard error. Okay, so here's the problem. Here's where most people stop and say, hey, I plotted standard error, this is all great. Okay, but the problem is that the standard error is the same for every single one. If I go back up to my aggregate data, we know that the standard error is actually different. So it's 0.28 here, 0.14 here, but pretty similar for runs 3, 4, and 5, right? 0.11 to 0.12. Granted, we want to demonstrate, or we want to make sure that the standard error is accurate. So for run 1 down here, we should have an error bar that goes 0.28 in both directions. For run 2, it should go 0.14 in both directions, and so on and so on. So the way we can do this is if you click on an error bar, you'll bring up the drop down here and you want to choose custom. When you choose custom, you specify the value. The best way to do this, if you're graphing all 5 bars, is not to select one exact value. So if I were to do like 0.28, right, and manually type it in and do 0.28, that would use 0.28 for all 5 bars. I don't want to do that. You can specify and tell Microsoft Excel that this array matches with the array above for the means. And so you plot your positive and negative. Oops, a little error here. Click OK. And now your error bars match up exactly to the value. So this is 0.28, this is 0.14, this is 0.11, 0.12, 0.12. And I can zoom in to kind of show you that. Okay. So visually, this error bar is bigger than the other error bars because guess what? It is bigger. So now you're correctly displaying the standard error around your average FPS with the test it came from. And that's how you should display error bars.